Hello students. So yesterday we have started with the new chapter of chemistry, and that is atoms and molecules. In atoms and molecules we studied that all the chemical reactions which occur in nature, they follow certain laws. And that laws is actually we call it a law of a chemical combination. In a law of a chemical combination, it is basically divided into two, that is law of conservation of mass and law of constant proportion. Now, law of conservation of mass is what? In which the mass is conserved. It means what? That mass can neither be created nor it get destroyed after the reaction. It means the total mass of the reactant is equals to the total mass of the product. Okay, so if suppose the two reactants are there and it gives the two product, so the sum of the two reactant, it will be equals to the sum of that product. So the mass of the total mass of that of the reactant, it will be equals to the total mass of that of the product. We have seen some of the numericals, means what kind of a numericals related to law of conservation of mass will be asked. Then we studied with that of the law of constant proportion. Law of constant proportion, it states that if a pure compound is there and the element they combine together, in a pure compound, always the same element they combine together to form that compound. So, the element when they combine together, they always combine in a fixed proportion by mass. We had discussed with the example like that of the water, that if suppose we take water from any of the sources, the formula of the water will remain H2O and the ratio between that of the hydrogen and oxygen will remain as 1:8. Okay. Similarly, in case of a carbon dioxide also, in carbon dioxide, the ratio between that of the carbon and oxygen, it will be 3:8, and it really doesn't matter that from where we get this carbon dioxide or from where we extracted this carbon dioxide. We have also seen some of the numericals, and that is related to that of the constant proportion. Now we will move forward and see here one more question is there, student, which is related to the law of chemical combination. Now see here, question is that when 3 gram of a carbon is burnt in 8 gram of oxygen, then 11 gram of a carbon dioxide is formed. What mass of a carbon dioxide is formed when 3 gram of a carbon is burnt in a 50 gram of a oxygen, and which law it follows? So first of all, you see here, when carbon is there and it reacts with that of the oxygen to form carbon dioxide. You can see here the mass of that of the carbon is 3 gram. The mass of the oxygen is 8 gram and the 11 gram of carbon dioxide is formed. Okay. So by this you can see which law it is following. So if suppose we have to prove that it is following the law of conservation of mass or a law of constant proportion. So for law of conservation of mass, we will see whether the total mass of the reactant is equal to the total mass of the product. So when we will add these two, then what we will find that 3 plus 8 will be equals to 11 gram. So the total mass of the reactant is 11 gram and that of the total mass of the product is also 11 gram. So you can see here, student, 11 gram is the mass of the reactant and 11 gram is the mass of the product. So it is following the first law, that is the law of law of conservation of mass. Okay, so law of conservation of mass. Second, you can see here the ratio between to that of the carbon and oxygen, okay, to form carbon dioxide is 3:8. It means 3 gram of a carbon we have taken and 8 gram of a oxygen we have taken, and these two when combined together they form carbon dioxide. And we know that in the formation of the carbon dioxide, the carbon and oxygen they combine together in a fixed ratio by mass, and that is 3:8. So this is the first part. It means that this is following both of the laws. Law of conservation of mass as well as law of constant proportion. Now, another part of the question is that what mass of a carbon dioxide is formed when 3 gram of a carbon is burnt in 50 gram of a oxygen. So you can see here, student, 3 gram of a carbon burnt with a 50 gram of a oxygen. So if suppose a 3 gram of a carbon is there, and here we will take a 50 gram of oxygen. See here, 50 gram of oxygen. So we know that to form the carbon dioxide, because the question is that when 3 gram of a carbon is burnt with a 50 gram of a oxygen, what is the formation? What mass of a carbon dioxide is formed? So to form carbon dioxide, carbon with the 3 gram always combine with the 8 gram of oxygen only. It means that out of this 50 gram, only 8 gram of oxygen will react with this carbon, will combine with this carbon to form 11 gram of carbon dioxide. It means every time the formation of the carbon dioxide will be 11 gram, because the combination of this oxygen to that of the carbon to form carbon dioxide is 3:8. So 3 gram of a carbon will combine with that of the 8 gram of oxygen. So we can say that the mass of the carbon dioxide which is formed, it is 11 gram only, and out of this 50 gram of oxygen, 8 gram of oxygen is used up, while that of the 42 gram of oxygen will left behind. Left behind, it means it remain, it do not combine to form the carbon dioxide, because only 3 gram of a carbon is there. If a more gram of a carbon will be there, then it will react further with the other amount of other gram of the oxygen to form the carbon dioxide. But here 3 gram of a carbon is there, so only 8 gram of oxygen will combine, while rest of the oxygen will remain left uncombined. Okay, and there is a formation of 11 gram mass of a carbon dioxide. So in the second answer, the mass of the carbon dioxide which is formed is 11 gram, and out of that, out of this 50 gram of oxygen, 42 gram of oxygen will be left behind. Now we will move to the another topic, student, and that is Dalton's law of atomic theory. Okay, Dalton's law. Dalton's law of atomic theory. So Dalton, he was an English teacher in Manchester, and he was studying the nature of the matter. Okay, so he looked after the structure and the nature of the matter, and then he explained that on the basis of some assumptions, and that assumptions that we studied in a Dalton's law of atomic theory, that we call as the postulates of the Dalton. So basically Dalton, he studied about the nature of the matter, and on the basis of some assumption, he explains the Dalton's law of atomic theory. Now what are the postulates of the Dalton atomic theory? Let me tell you, this is very important, because most of the time questions related to the postulates of the Dalton's atomic theory as well as the limitations of the Dalton's atomic theory will ask. So we'll start with that of the postulates. So if we see the first postulates of that of Dalton's atomic theory, student. So the first postulate, it states that all the matter around us is made up of an extremely small particle, and that is known as atom. So matter is made up of smallest particle called atoms. Okay, so all matter which is present around us is made up of extremely small particle, and that is called atom. It means we can say that atom is the smallest particle which take part in a chemical reaction. So atoms are the smallest, or we can say atom is the smallest particle takes place in a chemical reaction. Okay, so these are the two postulates. That is the first one, it is made up of a smallest particle, and because of that we can say that it is the smallest particle that take place in a chemical reaction. If we see the third postulates of a Dalton's atomic theory, student, it states that element which consisting of one type of an atom, or an element is made up of only one type of an atom, that is having similar chemical properties as well as a similar physical properties. It means the atom, the element which consisting of only one type of an atom have the same mass, having this density as well as that of the other chemical properties remains the same. So, elements made up of same atom are similar in physical and chemical properties. Likewise, we can say for the fourth one also that two elements, or they are having the different types of atom also, and thus both of them are having the different physical and that of a chemical property. So we can say that two elements or elements with different atoms, two elements with different type of atoms have different physical and chemical properties. Okay, so element with the same atom, they are having the similar properties, and elements with the different types of atom, or two elements having the different types of atom, they are having the different chemical or that of the physical property. Then the next one is that if suppose, now we will see the last postulate of Dalton's atomic theory, and in the last postulate Dalton explained that if an atom of two different elements, they always combine together in a fixed simple whole number ratio with each other. Okay, so he explained atoms of different element combines to each other in a fixed simple whole number ratio. Okay. So how he said that all the atoms of the element of a different element, when they combine together, they always combine in a fixed and a simple whole number ratio, student. So explain according to that of a water. For example, in case of a water, the ratio between these two is 2 molecules of a hydrogen is there and 1 molecule of 1 atom of a oxygen is there. So 2 atom of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen, it will give 2:1. Or CO2. So 1 atom of a carbon is there and 2 atom of oxygen is there. So that will be equals to 1:2. Okay. Like that, if you take a SO2, so 1:2. Anything like that. So he explained that if your 2 or more atoms, when they combine together, they always combine in a simple whole number ratio. Okay. So this is the Dalton's atomic theory. In this, one more point is there, student, and that is he explained that atoms are the it means that the atoms, they are the smallest, it means they are the indivisible particles. So atoms are the indivisible particles which can neither be created nor destroyed. So atoms are the indivisible particle which can neither be created nor destroyed. So let me remind you the Dalton's atomic theory again, the postulates. The first postulate, he said that all the matter which is present around us, when we divide this matter, then we find that the atom is made up of a very small particle, and that is known as the matter is made up of a very small particle, and that is known as the atoms. Okay, it means atom is the smallest particle which take part in a chemical reaction. So matter made up of a smallest particle, that is called atom, and this atom takes part in a chemical reaction. Third, he explains that atom of the same element have a similar properties. Okay, if suppose a carbon atom is there, a carbon element is there, so carbon element will consisting of a carbon atom only. It means it is having the same property, same chemical as well as that of the physical property. If an oxygen is there, or if a fluorine is there, or that of the a helium is there, so you will see that helium element consisting of a helium atom only, neon element consisting of a neon atom only, sodium atom is a sodium element consisting of a sodium atom only, and thus it having a same chemical and that of the physical properties. Fourth one, he explains that if 2 different elements are there, they are having the 2 different atoms also. For example, if we take bromine and chlorine, or if we take that of the helium and that of the hydrogen. So helium and hydrogens are the 2 elements, and they are having the 2 different type of atom. Thus, they are having the different chemical properties or different properties, including that of the mass or the density. Okay. Later on, he explained one more thing, that is atoms of different elements, when they combine together, they always combine in a fixed, simple whole number ratio with each other. Right now, I explain about it. Like if suppose a water is there, so 2 atom of a hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen is there. So the ratio between them, or the whole number ratio between them, that will be 2:1. Like that, 1:2 or 2:3. So these are what? These are very simple numbers. So we can say that they combine in a simple whole number ratio. Then he explained that atoms, they are indivisible particles. Okay. So if they are the smallest one, it means it is not possible to divide them. So atoms are the indivisible particles, and thus it cannot be created nor destroyed. Okay, so these are the some of the postulates of a Dalton's atomic theory. Now, one more thing is there, and that is the limitations. After giving these postulates, some of the postulates is supposed to be have some limitations. So we will discuss about the limitation of a Dalton's atomic theory. Now you see here, student, limitations. So the first limitation is that Dalton, he said that matter is made up of a very small particle, and that small particle is atom, and this atom is an indivisible particle. It means it cannot be divided further. So this is the first limitation of the Dalton's atomic theory. Because later on, after the discovery of the electron, proton and neutron, it is supposed to know that the atom is not the smallest and that of the indivisible particle, but it can be divided into the 3 subatomic particles, that is electron, proton and neutron. So the first limitation is atoms can be divided into subatomic particles. Thus, it is not an indivisible particle. Okay, so this is the first limitation of the Dalton's atomic theory. If we see the second one, student, if we talk about the second limitation of the Dalton's atomic theory, student, so Dalton in his postulate he explained one thing, that is the atom of the same element have similar properties, including that of the physical and chemical properties, or the mass or the density, everything is similar. Okay. But we know that if suppose we take an element and that is hydrogen. So hydrogen, it exists in nature as atomic mass 1, hydrogen having atomic mass 2, hydrogen having atomic mass 3 also. Like that, a hydrogen which is having the atomic mass 2, we call it as a deuterium. Hydrogen which is having the atomic mass 3, that is a tritium. Now you can take other elements also like that of the oxygen. So oxygen is an element which exists in nature as oxygen 16, means oxygen having the atomic mass 16, as well as oxygen 18. Or if you see the chlorine, chlorine exists in atmosphere, exists in nature as a chlorine 35, means chlorine having atomic mass 35 and chlorine having atomic mass 37. Like that, carbon is there. So carbon, it exists in nature as a carbon 12 as well as a carbon 14. So you see here, student, one element is there, an atom is also in it, one atom is also there, one type of atom is present in this element, but they differ from each other by their atomic mass. Okay, so they all are the same element, but they differ from the elements, they differ from the same type of element, same type of atom with their atomic mass. Thus we can say that it is not necessary that atoms belongs to the same element have the similar properties. Okay, let me tell you one more thing, that you can see here it exists in a different atomic mass. So for this we use a term, and that is known as isotopes. So what is isotope, students? Isotope is what? In which the element having the same atomic number, or we can say the element, they are same but their atomic mass varies or atomic mass are different from each other. So you see here, this is the same element, oxygen is there, but they differ from each other on the basis of their atomic mass. This is oxygen 16 and this is oxygen 18. Here also the same, two carbon atom is there, it means same element is there, but one is atomic mass 12 and another is atomic mass 14. Same thing with that of the chlorine. Chlorine 35 is there and chlorine 37 is there. Hydrogen is also the same thing. So you see here same element is there, similar element is there, but they differ from each other by their atomic mass. Such kind of elements we called as isotopes. Okay. Now we will see, let me write it, that second limitation is elements having same type of atoms may have different properties like isotopes. Okay. So element which is made up of which consisting of a same type of a atom may have a different property. Now we will see the third limitation, students. So Dalton he explained one more thing, that the two element will have a two different types of a atom and thus they are having a different properties also. Okay. So how it is a limitation? You see here, student, one element is there, that is potassium, and the other element is there, that is calcium. So these are the two different elements. Okay. So they are having the two different types of atoms also. Okay. And thus they are having a different types of a property. But when you see the atomic mass of the potassium and calcium, you will see the atomic mass of the potassium is 40, or the atomic mass of the calcium is also 40 U. That is atomic mass units. So both of them are the different element having the different types of atom in it, but both of them are having same atomic mass. So the postulate he has given that elements of a different atom or two element with different types of atom, they have a different properties, it will get discarded. So the elements having different types of atom may have same property or similar properties. So you see here, student, there the two elements were there and they are the two different elements, but their atomic mass is same. So we can say that elements having the two different types of atom in it may have the similar properties. Okay. Now for this, where the two different elements are there, but they are having the same atomic mass, we are using a term for it, and that is known as isobars. So isobars are what? Where the two different types of elements are there, but their atomic mass is common. So here isotope is, that is one element is there but having a different atomic mass, and here two elements are there which is having the similar atomic mass. So this is the third limitation of that of the Dalton's atomic theory. Then a last limitation of that of the Dalton's atomic theory is, Dalton he explained that when the elements or when the atom of the two different elements, they combine together, they always combine in a fixed and a simple whole number ratio. We had explained right now like that of the water or a carbon dioxide. So that is a 1:2 or 2:1 or 2:3 like that. So the ratio between them is very simple. So it means they always combine together in a simple whole number ratio. But what about this? If we talk about C6H12O6, this is a glucose. Okay, so you can see here the ratio between the different types of element to form the compound is 6 ratio 12 ratio 6, or we can take like that of a C12 H22O11, that is of a sugar. Okay, so the ratio between the carbon, hydrogen and oxygen is 12 ratio 22 ratio 11. Okay, so you see here, this is not a simple whole number ratio, but it is a complex one. So the limitation is that when the two or more type of atoms combine together, they combine or they may not combine with a simple whole number ratio. So it is not necessary that it always combine with the two type of atom in a simple whole number ratio. It can be the complex one. So these are the limitation of the Dalton's atomic theory. Let me remind you one more time. The first limitation is Dalton, he said that atoms are the indivisible particles since they are the smallest particle. But after the discovery of the electron, proton and neutron, it came to know that atom is not the individual particle, but it can be divided into the subatomic particles. Second thing, he explained that if an element consisting of one type of an atom or a same type of an atom, they are having the similar properties. But we have seen the isotope which exist in nature, they are of same element but consisting of the same type of an atom, but their atomic mass are different. Okay, so the elements which is consisting of one type of an atom may have a different properties. Then the third one, the elements or two elements with the two different types of atoms, they always having the different properties. Okay, but if you see the isobars which exist in the nature, they may be two elements, two different types of atoms are there in it, but they are having the same atomic mass, so we can say that they may have the same properties too. Last one, that Dalton's atomic said that when the two atoms they combine together, they always combine in a simple whole number ratio, but it is not necessary. Most of the time when two or more elements they combine together, they can form the complex ratio also. Okay, so these are the postulates and the limitations of the Dalton's atomic theory. Most of the time questions ask that what are the different postulates of the Dalton's atomic theory, or what are the different limitations of the Dalton's atomic theory. Okay student, now we will see, we have studied the law of a chemical combination, including the law of a conservation of mass and law of constant proportion. So how the Dalton's atomic theory explains the law of conservation of mass and law of constant proportion. Okay.